For years, James and Linda McAllister dreamed of a peaceful retirement. After decades of hard work, James as a construction foreman and Linda as a schoolteacher, they had finally found their perfect home, a charming, single-story house with a wraparound porch, nestled in a quiet neighborhood. It was everything they had worked for, a place where they could sip their morning coffee while listening to the birds, tend to their small vegetable garden, and host Sunday dinners for their children and grandchildren. They had carefully chosen this home because it was not in a homeowners association. They had heard too many horror stories from friends, petty rules, outrageous fines, and bullying boards. They wanted none of it. Their property was their sanctuary, a place where they could finally live on their terms. But that peace was shattered one autumn afternoon when James returned from a quick trip to the hardware store. As he pulled into the driveway, something felt off. The front door was slightly ajar. A cold knot formed in his stomach as he stepped inside and saw the unimaginable. The living room was in disarray. It wasn't the mess of a typical break-in. There were no shattered windows or missing electronics, but instead, papers were scattered across the floor, cabinets stood open, and furniture had been slightly moved. James's heart pounded as he called out for Linda, who had been visiting their daughter. As he moved through the house, he found a bright orange notice taped to the kitchen counter. It looked official, like something from the city, but when he read the letterhead, his blood boiled. Notice of violation, Homeowners Association, in bold, capitalized letters. He knew for a fact that they had never signed up for any HOA. Yet here it was, a demand for immediate compliance, stating that their home was part of the association and that certain violations needed to be addressed or else. Their landscaping was out of compliance, their porch furniture was deemed unapproved, and the house color was unauthorized. James clenched his fists as he read the final line. Failure to comply will result in escalating fines and further action. Before James could even make sense of what was happening, his phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. He answered cautiously. Mr. McAllister, this is Deborah Sutton, president of the Oak Ridge Homeowners Association. I assume you've seen the notice. Her tone was dripping with artificial politeness. James gritted his teeth. We aren't in an HOA. There was a pause, then a condescending chuckle. Oh, I understand your confusion, she said, as though speaking to a child. But you see, our HOA recently expanded, and your property falls under our jurisdiction now. Unfortunately, you'll need to make some changes, and there's a small outstanding fine of $5,200 due within 30 days. James felt like his head was going to explode. You can't just make me part of your HOA, he shot back. But Deborah continued as if he hadn't spoken. Should you choose not to comply, additional fees will apply. And if the issue remains unresolved, we will be forced to place a lien on your property. James was at a loss for words. A lien? On his own house. A house that he and Linda had paid off in full? He hung up without another word. But as the night wore on, anger turned into something else. A deep, simmering unease. This wasn't just about a few fines. Something much worse was happening. The next morning, Linda walked around the house with a notepad, listing every single thing the HOA had claimed was a violation. She was meticulous, checking for any reasoning behind the accusations. The garden was tidy, the furniture was weathered but perfectly fine, and the house, while painted a soft blue, was nothing outlandish. But as she stood there, a shiver ran up her spine. Someone had been inside their home. Someone had walked through their bedroom, had moved her things, had touched their personal belongings, all while they were gone. The violation of their home was more than just a legal dispute now. It was personal. That night, Linda barely slept. Every creak in the house made her heart race. Was someone watching them? Would they come back? What if they escalated their tactics? James, too, was restless. He had spent years ensuring their financial security, protecting their home from unforeseen disasters. But how do you protect yourself from people who claim they have the right to take what's yours? The stress weighed on them like a lead blanket. And then, as if things couldn't get worse, another letter arrived. This time, it wasn't $5,200. It was $47,000. Apparently, Additional fees had been applied for noncompliance, late payments, and administrative processing. James felt his knees go weak. This wasn't just harassment. This was extortion. Determined to get to the bottom of things, James started knocking on doors, talking to neighbors. Some shrugged and said it wasn't worth the fight. Others whispered their support, but refused to go on record. And then there were the ones who fully supported the HOA. The HOA keeps our neighborhood looking nice, a man down the street said, arms crossed. It's about maintaining property values. James gritted his teeth. I own my property outright, he shot back. And they broke into my home. The man just shrugged. That's between you and them. The realization hit James like a truck. Some people didn't care. Some people were fine with bullying as long as it didn't happen to them. But not everyone was indifferent. Late that night, there was a knock at their door. An older woman, probably in her 70s, stood there, clutching a stack of papers. You're not the first, she whispered, glancing over her shoulder. James and Linda exchanged a look and quickly ushered her inside. She set the papers down and took a shaky breath. They tried this with me, too. What she revealed made their blood run cold, a trail of documents, legal threats, and shady property claims. She had fought back, but had nearly lost her home in the process. The HOA had been doing this for years. And now, they had set their sights on the McAllisters.